So I'm still on the process of creating the vulnerable application so we can start hacking on it. Now I've done multiple, I've covered a lot of vulnerability so far. So the next vulnerability I was working on is what's called a Java vulnerability, where it allows in your code, if you allow unsecured deserialization of a Java object, what happens is kind of like somebody can exploit that. Now, during that process, as I mentioned in the previous videos, I actually use ChatGPT to do some of the research. So when I was researching that, like one of the things that ChatGPT recommended, and they say, okay, let's go ahead and create two classes, the the superclass and another class, the child class that extends the superclass. Now, before I get to what the problem is, let me explain what the issue is. So the issue is like there is a Java concept, as you all know, called superclass and a child class. Now, when you extend a superclass and create another class called a child class, and let's say you're trying to use a method defined by the superclass, and you need to change something on that particular method. What you need to do is when you extend it, you use a special keyword called override above dollar sign override above that method, and basically you're redefining it. So it needs that annotation, basically saying, okay, I'm going to redefine this method on the extended class so I can make change to it. So that is actually has been the basic concept, very basic Java concept has been around for quite some time. If you're learning, like if somebody starts learning, let's say Java today, like the first thing they're gonna learn about classes and uh, different things about extending classes, inheritance. That's the first thing, like the basic concept that you're gonna learn. Like if you need to extend the functionality from a method for a method, then you need to actually use that special keyword. Now, if you notice here, this is the socket controller is actually the superclass. It doesn't have any method called apply filter. Now, what ChatGPT recommended, like when it extended the class, and let me go ahead and have it open here. This is the extended class. It's called use socket controller, and it extends the superclass socket controller. And it defined a class called apply filter. And as you can see here, it used that keyword override, basically saying, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and change this method that has been defined on the superclass. But if you notice here, there is no apply filter method. So this is kind of like a basic syntax here. I feel like so it threw me off. So right off, I asked the question saying, why do we need to override it here? Why do we need to override the method apply filter does not exist on the super socket on the super class, which is the socket controller, and I think that's why the error is coming up. So ChatGPT will write off reply saying you're absolutely right. Override annotation is used to indicate the method is overriding a method from a superclass. It's basically stating the obvious fact, which is a basic syntax error. So with that being said, I kind of noticed like I think ChatGPT honestly, a lot of people kind of like uh, it might be at the early, still at the early stages because I see this concept is very basic concept, and it's not something I would understand. There might be some code differences. Sometimes here's what happens. I'll write a code. ChatGPT will recommend a code line and say, okay, go ahead and write it this way. And but on the IDE, I might be using a different version of the library. Let's say I might be using a different version of Spring Boot. Now the code might not work. That's a common experience that you're gonna come across. ChatGPT will write the code on a different version of Spring Boot, and you try to write it on a different version of Spring Boot. And obviously, the libraries are gonna be different for some of those, so you're gonna see that there's gonna be errors. It's not gonna like the IDE is gonna say, okay, this is a syntax error. Now that kind of syntax error you would expect, but this kind of basic syntax error where between a superclass and an extended class and using override. It has been around Java concept for a long time. It's not something that has changed. So I'm kind of surprised, honestly, like ChatGPT is even making this very basic syntax errors. So yeah, I thought it was. I thought I wanted to share this because it's like, yeah, this might be something if you're trying to use ChatGPT in your future projects. It might be something you might come across as well. So yeah, that did kind of throw me off, but eventually I got the answer to it. I'm going forward, I'll probably watch out for even for my syntax errors because that is actually another possibility. Yeah, that's what I want to share. Thank you so much.